Hey, deserving listeners, it's time for me to react to your comments on my videos from the past week. Let's get to it. By the way, I have a cold. If I sound funny, it's because of that. I hope that's not a problem. Love is Blind number 61, Forsaking All Others. This is the wedding episode, right? And we have a comment from Seed member Kendall Carroll. They say, I so appreciate what you said about the possibility of Edmund having a deeper insight because of his rough upbringing, right? So I was refuting the assumptions about Edmund. I can't know either way, but I was offering another possibility, and even going so far to say that there's a possibility that due to Edmund, because people were seemingly assuming that because of Edmund's background, he automatically must be broken or there must be something wrong with him. And I was saying that there's a possibility that he actually has more emotional maturity and health because of his upbringing, because it gave him the opportunity to contrast health with unhealth and gives him a chance to highlight, if in his teenage years it was really highlighted that he was suffering, then it promotes the encouragement for him to actually get help, and therefore he might get even more help than other people. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so Kendall Carroll says, I so appreciate what you said about the possibility of Edmund having a deeper insight because of his rough upbringing. I had a hard childhood and have been hurt to find that a few people have a stigma against kids who grew up in a less than ideal situation. Many of those kids grow up to be adults with an immense depth of wisdom, resilience, self-awareness, and capacity for love, not to mention a profound appreciation for peace, kindness, and empathy, and an inextinguishable joy for simply being alive. So Kendall is saying, maybe Edmund and his emotions, his joy that he was expressing spontaneously in the pods and beyond was because he knows what it's like not to have that. Yeah. Love's Blind number 61, titled Oh No. And we have a comment here from Karina Lee, full Corin member, meaning they've been a member of the channel for more than a year. And they say, honestly, I'm surprised that there aren't more people with kids on this show. I'm surprised that there aren't more people with kids on the show. Sorry. Honestly, I'm not surprised. So normally it's hard for me to read anyway because of my dyslexia, but also being sick. I don't know if you can hear. It's like my face and mouth aren't really working. But anyway, so Karina says, honestly, I'm not surprised that there aren't more people with kids on the show. So chiming in, I was just kind of rambling about Jordan and kids. I was like, it kind of made me think, why aren't there more people with kids on the show? Because just law of averages, you're going to have a lot of people with kids. And Karina's like, I'm not surprised. They say, I am surprised that there are any people with kids on this show, because it's completely irresponsible to enter into a relationship like this when you have a child. Getting married in a matter of weeks? If you're a single parent, your child shouldn't even be meeting your partner for a very long time. It's not just you that you have to think about. We know that most of these relationships don't work out, so you absolutely should not be involving a child in this. End of comment. Yeah. So is there some wisdom to this consideration? Yeah, absolutely. If someone, if I had a friend that had a kid and they were being recruited to be on the show, and, would I bring up something along these lines? Yeah. I would ask them, well, what happens if you fall in love and you're like really sure that you want to be with someone? Do you think it's a good idea to roll the dice with your kids involved, But on the other hand, for me, this is my opinion, that when people legitimately fall in love on the show and then legitimately get married, it's a legitimate love, it's a legitimate marriage. And so this could happen in non-Love is Blind as well. Like if you just sort of stretch it out over time, over the span of 2 years, which I think is a common span of time before you get married, that you start dating, off and on, and then, you start dating more intensely, you fall in love, and then maybe 12 months in, with consistency, you're thinking, I think I'm going to introduce this person to my kids because I'm thinking maybe a future, blah, blah. And then it doesn't work out. And then, there's fallout from that for the kid and whatnot. And this is all condensed. Now, us looking in, it's like, well, it has to be false. It has to be lesser in wisdom or something. But I don't know. I think that the model of the show and the condensed intensity of the pods and beyond actually could be argued that it legitimately does condense down the what we would consider to be appropriate amounts of time before you could get engaged and introduce the person to your kids. So that's one. Two, there's a lot of judgment of parents in general. Three, there's a lot of judgment, meaning that I think anyone who goes on the show that has kids, particularly women, will get attacked just because of that. By the way, someone else commented that, what was her name, Jessica, who had the kid from a few seasons back, that people weren't attacking her just because she had a kid. They're attacking her because of things they found online that she was not a good parent or something. And, maybe I'd be convinced of that, but at any rate, I know a good portion of my early career was specializing in parenting. I would help parents, particularly of teens, and I found that there was just so much judgment, not only from society, but even from clinicians. And I'd be, whoa, like, I know these parents, they're trying hard, like, take it easy, everyone makes mistakes. Some parents have more mistakes than others, but generally speaking, most parents are trying. And are they allowed to date? Sure. Anyway, so when there's so much judgment around, and this automatic statement that it's just like, well, if you are going on Love is Blind and you have a kid, it's automatically irresponsible. I don't think that's true. I think it's something to think about, right? And I think they did. I think Jordan and Megan were, like, let's say that they weren't two ships passing in the night. Let's say that they stayed in love, as they very much seemed like they were, and they got married. Would we look at that and say that Jordan was a completely bad father for doing that? No. Also, things aren't ever perfect in life. Is it harming the child that the child was introduced to Megan as possibly a stepmom? Maybe, but maybe not, right? I mean, and we don't know how it was introduced, right? So there's that. Because I also want to highlight, there are times when you have a kid and you're dating, you might say 6 months in to a relationship, invite your dating partner to meet your kid, but you don't introduce to the kid, like, this is your new stepdaddy. It's just a friend, just like any other friend. So, there's a lot of different scenarios here. Can harm occur? Yeah. Are people irresponsible sometimes and don't consider the feelings of the children? Absolutely. As a therapist, I understand that some parents aren't making the best choices with their kids, and then they grow up and they have issues, and then they come to therapists. So I don't know. I think it's worth a question, but I don't think we can assume that anyone going on the show with a kid is automatically irresponsible, meaning automatically highly risking harm to the child. I'm trying to think of another couple that had kids that got married or even attempted. I don't. Nothing's come to mind. I'm just thinking of other couples. Think of like Brett and Tiffany. Everyone loves Brett and Tiffany. Let's say that Brett had a child from a previous relationship and went on the show, fell in love, got married, and there's some bumps in the road, some complication. Would we look at Brett and say, like, oh my God, what a monster you are? I mean, it worked out, but what a monster. But then, you look at someone like from, was it 1 or 2 seasons ago, where the guy, Tyler, who had 3 kids, like, that's a whole other scenario, I guess, now that I remember it. Anyway, so I don't know. I think it's a question, but if we go with the assumption, which I do, that the legitimate yeses at the altar and those people who seemingly are seriously pursuing that but don't end up getting to that point, if we consider those people, so maybe it's this, maybe it's like, but in order to say yes at the altar, you kind of have to test the waters. So maybe this would be the most responsible way, which would be kind of weird. So let's just take Jordan and Megan. Let's say that they were yes at the altar. That Jordan introduces Megan to the child, and the child is not told that Megan is a fiance or anything. Just a friend, a really good friend, and let's hang out all day and just kind of, because you want to see how that works. You want to see how Megan is with the child. It's hard to extrapolate from that, but you can get a little bit of a vibe from that, a little bit of some data, maybe a few times. Okay. Also, Megan meeting Jordan's former partner, having those two people get along, right? You just want to make sure. Then you get married. The son is not told about the marriage. As I'm saying this out loud, it's ridiculous. So let's go with this. That you have a marriage, you don't tell the kid. The kid's pretty young, so it wouldn't be that hard to section off everyone's talk about the marriage. Then you don't move in right away, and then you begin what would typically be done in a dating relationship, where there is a build-up, there is a lot of data gathering in terms of how is she with the kid, how is the kid with her. And if after, in a probationary period after a year, then you then introduce Megan, by the way, we got married. Sorry, I just had a coughing fit that I had to edit out. I don't know. As I say that out loud, I guess maybe I'm coming around to you, YouTube member Karina, in that it's like, well, maybe just date. Because what I'm describing is sort of a weird version of dating. It's like, if you have a kid, you really need to make sure that the step parenting relationship and the working relationship between Megan and your previous partner, you got to make sure that that is going to work. And there should be a ramp up and a lot of data gathered before you even consider getting married. So maybe you should never get married. Now, could there be a situation where, say, Jordan and Megan get married and they did a little bit of testing and then they're at the altar? 6 months in, it's like, oh my God, this is a problem. And you get divorced. It's at the end of the world for the kid. It's not great, but things happen sometimes. Anyway. All right. So the rest of this video is going to be for YouTube members like Karina, because I want to reward those people who are paying my bills so I can sit here and yammer at you. So become a member. Otherwise, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.